Hello! My friends and I have a special treat ready for you today. Ready, Barry?
Do you smell what Barack is cooking?
I'll take that as a yes. How about you, President Bobble Trump?
Let's go and do it.
I have a bad feeling about this. But let's try it. And a one, and a two. Can't buy me love, love can't buy me love. I'll buy you diamond rings, my friend, if it makes you feel alright. I'll get you anything, my friend, if it makes you feel alright.
Really love money. Really love money. Really love money.
What the heck?
I'm really rich.
That is not how we practiced it. Let's try it again. And a one, and a two. I'll buy you diamond rings, my friend, if you say you love me too. I may not have a lot to give, but what I got, I'll give to you.
I love China. I love Mexican people. I love the Saudis. I love my life.
I love you. I love you.
Okay, we're going to have to work on this. Let's go straight to the notes. Okay, here's some information covering part 2 of the Unit 1 study guide on types and forms of government. The word authoritarian describes a government with excessive authority, usually one that emphasizes obedience at the expense of civil liberties, meaning individual rights. Of the 6 countries we study, China and Iran are the most authoritarian. The UK, Mexico, probably the least. Democracy is a type of government founded on popular sovereignty, which means the people hold ultimate authority, and the consent of the governed, meaning the government derives its power from the people. In other words, democracy is a government characterized by rule of the people and frequently simplified to simply majority rule. Democracy can be liberal, sometimes referred to as substantive, meaning that elections are truly competitive, there's multiple parties competing for power, and civil rights, such as freedom of speech and freedom of the press, are respected. Or democracy can be illiberal, sometimes called procedural, meaning that basically a country simply goes through the motions of holding elections. Elections are managed by the government to produce a desired outcome, such as the victory of a certain party or leader. Civil rights are frequently curtailed in illiberal or procedural democracies, meaning that freedom of the press, freedom of speech, those sorts of things are frequently limited in order to make sure that certain parties or certain leaders win the elections. You might call elections facades or shams or charades. In our course, the 2 countries that have the most widely recognized as liberal democracies would be the UK and Mexico. Iran would be an example of an illiberal democracy. China doesn't even make the list because it's not in any way democratic. And Russia and Nigeria are pretty much in between somewhere. Theocracy is rule by divine authority or in the name of God. Of the 6 countries we study, Iran is the only theocracy. However, it is not the only country in which religion plays a role in the legitimacy of the government. UK, Russia, Nigeria, and Mexico fall into that category, but they're not theocracies in any sense of the word, at least compared to Iran. Regime is a particular type of political system, like a democracy or whatever, that a country has. Regime change is a change in the type of government that a country has. For example, if there's a military overthrow of a democracy and a dictatorship is established, then that would qualify as regime change. If a government experiences a change in leadership or party control, that is not considered to be regime change, since the type of government didn't change. It's merely a change in government. So let's say when David Cameron in the UK stepped down and was replaced by Theresa May. That was simply a change in government, not a regime change. If a country such as Nigeria transitions from military rule, let's say, to a democracy, that is considered regime change. When the Soviet Union fell in 1991 and was replaced by a form of democracy in Russia, that was an example of regime change. Military rule is pretty simple. It means direct rule by members of the armed forces, and it's typically authoritarian. None of the 6 countries we're studying now currently are under military rule. However, Nigeria was recently under military rule as recently as only maybe 10 years ago or so. The concept of a failed state is a state in which the rule of law or law and order frequently breaks down. There's several failed states in the world right now. Somalia pretty much qualifies. South Sudan is on the verge of being a failed state. And Nigeria, of the 6 countries we study, is considered by many to be a failed state. The 3 forms of government that we've been studying since you guys were sophomores are unitary, confederate, and federal. A unitary system is one in which the central or national government holds all or most power. The UK, Iran, and China are examples of unitary systems. There are no confederate systems in the course that we study, but that would be a government in which the political subdivisions hold all or most of the power. And if there were a national government, it would be very weak. The 3rd form, invented by us Americans when we wrote the Constitution, is a federal form. It's a system of government in which the power is shared or divided between a central or national government and semi-sovereign political subunits, frequently referred to as states, but not always. For example, in Canada, they're called provinces. 3 of the countries we study, Mexico, Russia, and Nigeria, are federal systems. And finally, devolution. Devolution is the granting of authority from a higher government to a lower government. Devolution in this course is primarily discussed in the context of a unitary government, a unitary system in which the national government holds all the authority and may choose to create and empower lower levels of government. In this course, that is a good description of what has been happening in the UK in the last couple of decades. Parliament has devolved power to the Scottish Parliament, the Welsh Assembly, the Northern Ireland Assembly, and the Mayor of London. But UK is still considered to be a unitary system because Parliament can revoke these powers at any time. They're not constitutionally protected because Parliament does not have a written constitution. The UK does not have a written constitution. So Parliament can simply change the game anytime it wants to. These powers are not constitutionally protected as they are in the U.S. There you go. Good luck on your quiz.